My name is Tonny, Omondi, and our sign language interpreter is Boniface Murithi. Now, the Council of Governors has lifted the county's shutdown a day after the Senate resolved the stalemate on revenue sharing formula. In a statement, COG chairperson Wycliffe Oparanya thanked President Kenyatta and ODM leader Raila Odinga for their intervention to end the standoff that had caused financial crisis at the counties. Meanwhile, Treasury Cabinet Secretary Tonny has assured that county governments will receive a total of 60 billion shillings by Monday morning. Alice Diana reports.
Nairobi believes there is no Kenya A and Kenya B. We vote yes.
A day after the Senate unanimously agreed and approved the contentious revenue sharing formula that was proposed by the Commission on Revenue Allocation (CRA), the Council of Governors (COG) has rescinded its decision to shut down counties. Through its chairman Wycliffe Oparanya, COG had already issued a directive to counties directing them to halt operations due to the lack of funds resulted by revenue sharing stalemate in the Senate, which hindered funds transferred to the devolved units. Even though the Senate was opposed to the directive, several county governments had already shut down operations until the Senate agreed on how best counties should share money in the next financial year. On Friday, while in Bungoma County, Oparanya said he had consulted with his fellow governors and agreed to lift the shutdown on county governments and urged the devolved units to resume their functions immediately.
After consultation, we have now lifted the close down that we had, that we announced two days ago. Sasa county zinaweza kuendelea na kazi zao.
The Kakamega County boss also urged Treasury Cabinet Secretary Tonny to release funds to the counties immediately so as to cushion the devolved units from the financial crisis they are currently facing.
Now, since the stalemate is over, we now direct that the CS Treasury and the control of budget should release money to county governments immediately. Because I know most Kenyans working in counties have suffered during these 3 months that we have a stalemate.
On Thursday, senators expressed joy after reaching a consensus after 10 failed attempts that saw the House accused of derailing county operations.
Today we have won after a protracted battle, and I want to thank all the senators who have agreed to support this formula, this motion.
The decision that was taken by the Senate today is a decision that speaks to a united Kenya. A decision that says we have a leadership in this Senate that does not believe in the old ways of doing things.
I'm happy that we passed a formula that clearly says in the resolution that there is no county that will get any money less than what they were getting in the last financial year. Meaning, going forward, every county gets resources over and above what they have been getting.
In the approved formula that ensures no county loses a shilling in the 370 billion shillings allocation, Nairobi, Nakuru, Kiambu and Turkana counties will get the lion's share of 370 billion shillings set to be allocated to the counties in the next financial year. For Hope TV Newswatch, I'm Alice Diana.
Meanwhile, Siaya Senator James Orengo has asked governors to be accountable for every shilling they use after the Senate Assembly on Thursday approved the third basis formula of revenue allocation after months of standoff. Orengo was speaking in Siaya County, where he commended President Kenyatta and former Prime Minister Raila Odinga for intervening by agreeing to allocate 50 billion shillings to counties in the next financial year, a move that helped to resolve the revenue stalemate witnessed in the country.
These people from Mount Kenya must now know their friends. Those people who have been pretending to be their friends, abandon them at their hour of need. It is only Raila Odinga who came out forthright and said that revenue sharing must be based on numbers. 1 man, 1 vote, 1 shilling. So they must know their friends, and we want to tell them that we are going to be their friends now and even in the future.
Because at the end of the day, the solution came when Raila Amolo Odinga and His Excellency the President met with the Senate leadership in State House, where we agreed that the only solution is to inject an additional 50 billion shillings. There are some people who are talking about a win-win solution without knowing what is that win-win solution. How are we going to achieve a win-win solution without the injection of funds? And I believe the people of Siaya, when that money comes here, that it will be spent properly to provide services to the people. And governors, please, let us not fight for resources, demanding for resources, and when we demand for accountability, you begin to raise complaints. Money without accountability cannot build a just and fair nation.
And university student leaders in Nairobi under the university's President Council have castigated the government over the issuance of 1.9 billion shillings to the education sector to purchase desks and lockers ahead of schools reopening. The leaders have said the funds should be channeled to other projects such as the purchase of laptops for school pupils.
To ensure that you identify schools which will give His Excellency the President a peace of mind.
The government earlier this week channeled 1.9 billion shillings to buying desks, lockers and chairs, a project overseen by the Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha that saw him meet the government administrative officers who would undertake the project. The 622,357 desks, lockers and chairs to be distributed to schools in dire need were part of the government's plan to ensure social distancing regulations are adhered to and to enforce no sharing of desks ahead of reopening. It will be interesting to see just how the plan will work, considering many public schools operate with a limited number of classes, most of which are not proportionate to the number of learners. Acquisition of desks worth 1.9 billion shillings has posed a contention between the government with university student leaders who say the decision is ill-advised.
As a council, we wonder how the Ministry of Education can convince His Excellency the President of the Republic of Kenya to direct some funding to making of desks. Actually making of desks at this time, when we are supposed to be digitizing our learning.
According to the student leaders, the move will undoubtedly lead to misappropriation of funds, as has been witnessed when huge procurements are undertaken.
But it's only here in Kenya where money is going to be misused. After a short period of time, when you will go back to those schools, the desks will have been put aside, zimeoza, and now the students have gone back to the normal learning. We are supposed to be putting in place measures that are going to last for long.
At the same time, the chairman of the University President Council, Albert Maloba, pointed an accusing finger at the Ministry of Education for failing to catch up with the digital age.
These shenanigans, so to say, must come to a stop. Kenya is spending billions on desks while other nations are investing in technological infrastructure to support e-learning. I mean, we refuse to be taken for a ride. Change must come. The coronavirus gave the Ministry of Education a great opportunity to digitize education system in Kenya, but they are taking us to the Stone Age period when they are discussing about the desks and the new ways of social distancing in classes, where we will not have even enough classrooms to have the many desks that they are now making.
This comes even as universities continue to call for the reopening of schools to allow resumption of learning. Grace Ongoi, Hope TV News Watch.
The Ministry of Lands has announced a waiver of all land rents and rates for landowners applying for title deeds in the new phase of the Nairobi titling program. Addressing the media after a closed-door meeting with Nairobi Metropolitan Service boss Mohamed Badi, Land CS Farida Karone said the move is aimed at encouraging landowners to participate in the new phase of Nairobi titling process and help to fast-track the procession and issuance of title deeds. The exercise targets to fast-track the issuance of 18,000 title deeds to landowners in Nairobi, especially those in informal settlement areas. Kresoila reports.
Nairobi Metropolitan Service boss Major General Mohamed Badi and Lands Cabinet Secretary Farida Karone have agreed to roll out the title deeds issuance exercise in Nairobi following a directive by President Uhuru Kenyatta during the issuance of title deeds to shareholders of Embakasi Ranching Company in August 2020.
Na sasa ni mujenge bila kuogopa ambapo ati kesho utakuja kufukuzwa. Hakuna mtu anakuja kukufukuza. Mujenge.
In her speech after a meeting that sought to put in place the modalities for a new round of registration, processing and issuance of title deeds to landowners in different parts of Nairobi, Karone urged landowners to take advantage of the moratorium on land rents and rates to submit their proper documents for title deed processing.
One of the things we have decided to do is to waive all fees, both from national government and county government. For the 15 sites and service schemes, the county government allotted lands, and the tenant purchase schemes. This will include rent, which is resources owed to national government, and rates from county government. This will enable landowners to enjoy the benefit of this RRI program that we are having, which will last only about a month.
Among the things that landowners are required to bring for the verification exercise include original allotment documents, 2 recent color passport photos, a copy of national identification card, a copy of KRA PIN certificate and clearance certificate.
So it is very, very important that landowners come with these documents when they are coming to document their parcels of land. If you bought the parcel, please come with your sale agreement. If you are allotted, please come with the allotment letter. Come with your ID, your copy of passport, and come with photos. One of the other major challenges that we have seen is succession. As you know, these projects have taken more than 50 years to document. So a lot of the original owners have since been deceased. So what people are doing, they're coming to document these parcels without succession documents. So we urge landowners who are inheriting land from deceased persons to please work with their lawyers to document or to get succession documents.
Major Badi in his speech expressed his readiness to work with the Lands Ministry to ensure the success of the project, which targets informal settlement areas of Mathare, Huruma, Umoja, Dandora, Kayole, Kariobangi and Bahati.
Land ownership in Nairobi, especially in the informal settlement, has long been dogged by many disputes. It is for this reason that NMS, in collaboration with the national government, have embarked on a joint program to fast-track processing, registration, and issuance of land titles to property owners in Nairobi. The two levels of governments will process site and service schemes, tenant purchase schemes, county allotted properties, land buying companies, and other scheme owners. And this will be free of charge.
This exercise will run from Wednesday, September 23rd, 2020 to October 10th, 2020 from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m.
We are therefore calling upon beneficiaries to submit relevant documents from 23rd December this year to 10th October this year, as will be announced in the local stations, published in the newspapers, and updated on the NMS social media platform.
Reporting for Hope TV Newswatch, I'm Grace Soila.
Now on to COVID-19 situation. The country has recorded 148 new coronavirus cases after a sample size of 2,438 was tested in the last 24 hours, raising the country's total number of infections to 36,724. The cumulative tests now stand at 511,614, with all new cases being Kenyans except 3 who are foreigners. Of the 148 cases, 105 are male and 43 are female. In terms of recoveries, the country recorded 98 recoveries from the disease, with 46 coming from the home-based care program, while 52 were discharged from various hospitals across the country. This now brings the total number of recoveries to 23,709. Unfortunately, the country lost 4 patients to the disease, bringing the total number of fatalities to 646. In terms of county distribution, Mombasa leads with 40 cases, followed by Nairobi with 32, Laikipia 15, Kiambu 11, Nakuru 7, Embu 7, Uasin Gishu 6, Kajiado 6, Taita Taveta 5, Kisumu 5, Kitui 4, Trans Nzoia 3, Baringo 1, Elgeyo Marakwet 1, Kwale 1, Machakos 1, Kericho 1, Makueni 1, and Murang'a 1. Now, Nairobi County has been one of the most affected counties after the outbreak of COVID-19 in March this year. Despite these efforts have been put in place to cushion residents from the effects of COVID-19. The government, through the Ministry of Interior, is also working hard to minimize cases of crime during this period that saw massive job losses. Our current affairs reporter Dickens Luvanda had a conversation with the Nairobi County Commissioner Flora Moroa about the security situation in the county and how it has been and how her office has been involved in improving the lives of Nairobi residents ever since the outbreak of the coronavirus pandemic in the country.
And maybe just in brief, how has work been so far, especially during this time of COVID-19, ever since it started in March this year up to now, your work and across Nairobi, and how you've been coping, and in terms of security and adherence to COVID-19 guidelines, especially from the police officers trying to enforce the law up to the village level in the county.
Thank you. Since the emergence of COVID-19 in the month of March, things have not been very smooth in Nairobi, except for the last 2 weeks, whereby we realized that the cases have gone down. But we have been able to cope because since COVID-19 was discovered in the country in the month of March, despite the many problems that have been faced by the people, including closure of schools, loss of jobs, we have been able to cope by government coming up with programs to cushion our people. One of them being a cash transfer program, which was started immediately, mainly to cushion people living in the informal settlements by giving them money weekly. That has been able to help them a lot, and this program is still going on, and it will be on until the month of December. We also started the Kazi Tonny, which is basically a hygiene program, which is undertaken in the informal settlements as well. This one is mainly a program for the young people. It's also a social program because they get paid after every 11 days. In Nairobi, we have engaged 55,000 youth who are paid 450 shillings per day. We have divided the group into 2 cohorts. So half of them work for 11 days, then the rest work for another 11 days. And while the half of them are on break, we engage them in training on basic issues that affect our youth, mainly on drug and substance abuse, patriotism, basic entrepreneurship, and such kind of other skills that may be of help to them. Of course, the government also put up other measures like the curfew, the closure of bars that have been of great help. Basically, our people have adhered to those guidelines, although we find a few who don't adhere. But we have our police officers always on patrol to ensure that they adhere to those rules.
And maybe have you ever arrested some who have failed to adhere to the guidelines?
Very many, very many. Very many people have been arrested for, first of all, for not following the curfew timelines, failure to wear masks. We have been able to arrest quite a few. But I would want to add that the cases of crime have gone down. Of course, because you see, most crimes are committed in the night, and many of the people are, who are adhering to the curfew are not out. The bars are also closed, so the rate of crime has gone down. What has emerged is that we have an increase in cases of assault, gender-based violence, which is brought about by frustrations, you know, when people are also confined to their homes most of the times, which they are not used to. You find sometimes there is pressure to maybe provide as a family people, and it gives rise sometimes some kind of violence.
And you maybe think as the cases continue decreasing, we're seeing maybe in some areas, maybe especially in the matatu sector, maybe the seating capacity, especially in the 14-seater, is now returning to normal.
No, if there are places where it's returning to normal, that's just a violation of the rules. Actually, we are very strict and we issue permits to matatus, and the instructions are still the same, that they should be operating on half capacity. Yeah, yes.
We've seen that political events are returning outside Nairobi, and what will be your next move if such an event is held in Nairobi, a political event, and we've seen crowding in such events? What is the next measure that you can do to ensure that COVID-19 guidelines are enforced in such an event?
It's fortunate that you've not had such an event in Nairobi. But in places where they have taken place, you have all seen that people are not adhering to the guidelines. You see people in the meetings very crowded without masks. And that is a very dangerous trend, because there's this assumption that because the numbers are now dropping, then COVID is like finished. But COVID is still with us. We have had instances even in other countries where people dropped the guard and then cases started charging. I mean cases started surging. So we may really not allow such kind of events. If there must be an event which must be necessary, people must adhere to the guidelines.
And you're issuing, maybe for example, you're issuing a permit for such an event?
Of course, we are not going to issue permits for such kind of events, because there are violations of the protocols.
And Madam Commissioner, there has been protests, one or two protests within Nairobi during this time, but the protests were dismissed, and the protesters asked to leave or maybe tear gassed. So what is the way forward on protests during this time?
You see, when people are protesting, first of all, they must have authority to do so. Many of the protests that you have seen do not have that authority. Secondly, with the kind of guidelines that we are supposed to adhere to right now, you cannot allow a protest, because people obviously come together in huge numbers. You don't expect them to keep a social distance. So that's a recipe for spread of COVID-19. Yeah. You know, we have very many peaceful and proper ways of making your point. If you want to do it through a letter, it can be delivered by a few people. You can also be a few people and request for permission to picket, which is allowed. But these large groups of people moving around without masks and without adhering to the social distancing cannot be allowed. Yeah.
Okay.
Because when we say no social gathering, it applies to all. Yeah.
So the guidelines on COVID-19 across Nairobi should continue being adhered.
Should continue being implemented.
Asante sana, nashukuru. Asante kwa muda.
Thank you.
All right, let's now take a short commercial break on News Watch. We'll be back with more stories. Keep it Hope TV.
Welcome to Garden of Joy in Machakos by Optiven. This is a gated community that is strategically located only 7 minutes drive from Koma town and 1.3 kilometers off the tarmac. It comes with a beautiful gate, chain link fence around the property, internal Maram roads, a borehole for steady water supply, a jogging track, a meditation park, and a children's play area. The title deeds are ready. Get your value-added plot at only 1.295 million shillings cash price. We also have flexible payment options of up to 12 months. Call us today on 0702 8310 83 or visit www.optiven.co.ke.
Dunia ni mali ya Bwana na vyote vijazavyo.
Nguruwe ni mali ya Bwana au?
Ni mali ya Bwana.
Bata ni mali ya Bwana?
Ni mali.
Wewe kula basi. Acha mambo mengi.
Yesu ndiye njia.
Muislamu yoyote ambaye anamkataa Yesu, kwanza sisi tunamjua ni kafiri.
Bila huyu Yesu, mtu aendi kwa Baba.
Ungana na walimu wa neno wanapochambua masuala tata katika Biblia, wakiyalinganisha na vitabu vingine vya kidini.
Je, kuna ushahidi wowote Muhammad aliwahi ona Qur'an? Na hii Qur'ani muliitoa wapi? Halo?
Piga simu moja kwa moja na pia uchangie kupitia SMS na Facebook.
Itawezekana kitabu cha Biblia ambaye mnakiamini kuwa ni kitabu cha Mwenyezi Mungu ishindwe kumtabiri mtu ambaye ana wafuasi zaidi ya bilioni 100 duniani.
Je, Muhammad amekufa ama yuko hai?
Ungana nasi kila Jumamosi saa 2 hadi saa 4 ya usiku kwenye runinga uipendayo ya Hope TV.
Welcome back. You're watching Hope TV News Watch. Now, the residents of Kurawa area in Magarini sub-county have protested against the expansion of a salt manufacturing company, dikes, near their homes, terming it harmful to the environment. The residents accused the Kurawa Salt Company of extending its dikes near their farms and digging trenches without creating a buffer zone, which is a major health hazard due to the fine dust released in the process. Currently, the residents said there is a lot of dust and strong winds blowing towards their homes, contributing to diseases and also making it difficult for them to enjoy their normal lives. They termed the expansion illegal, as there is a matter pending in court between the residents and the company that's yet to be concluded.
Kuko na baridi kali, kuko na upepo na vumbi lingi, hatuwezi kula hata chakula. Na tumeungana tukashirikiana na Malindi Race Forum kwa sababu ya hiyo kesi, lakini bado hatujajua kesi inaendelea vipi, yeye anafanya kazi yake, si tuna shida. Tunasema kwa uchungu na tunasikia uchungu watu wa hapa kubuka. Hapa kuko na watoto nakwambia kila siku tuko hospitali na kupeleka watoto kwa sababu ya mafua, kwa sababu ya vumbi la Kurawa Salt. Kama hata jenga ukuta, anasema ni mtu kuna watu wa mazingira tumechagua CSR, wanaambiwa ni watu wa mazingira. Wanafanya kazi gani? Si tuna shida. Hakuna mazingira yoyote. Watu wa mazingira, tafadhali mtuone huruma na sisi tunaumia.
Ukiangalia pale vile unaona sahihi amebomoa kiasi kwamba hawa wakulima ambao wamepakana kabisa na shamba wanapata shida ya baridi na vumbi. Na hii hali tunajua kama ingefanyika kiuwazi tungekuwa na ripoti ya mazingira tukajua imefanyika kivipi, lakini ripoti hatuko nayo mpaka sasa. Wamefanya tu kienyeji. Sijui hii serikali imekuwa imezembea kivipi pale mpaka ikafanyika hiyo hali. Sisi bado inatumiza sana.
Badala ya kufuatilia haki na sheria inavyotakikana, Kurawa ametumia wakati huu wa COVID-19 ambapo jamii Kenya imehangaika, watu hawezi kutangamana, sheria hazifuatiliwi vile ambavyo inastahili, kutumia kama nafasi ya kuvunja ardhi na kutengeneza mabirika ili kutengeneza chumvi. badala ya kuheshimu mahakama na kutoa pesa ili order ili aiheshimu na survey ifanywe, Kurawa ametengeneza mabirika na tayari yajitayarisha kuweka maji ya chumvi. Maji ya chumvi yale Kurawa akiyaweka yataathiri vyanzo vya maji safi ambayo jamii wanapata kunywa na kutumia majumbani.
The of Kakamega is set to resume sitting soon after suspending its sessions following the revenue impasse at the Senate. Members of the County Assembly, led by the leader of Majority Joel Ongoro on Thursday, condemned the scathing attacks by senators on the COG chair Wycliffe Oparanya following his move to shut down counties. They said the senators should stop shifting the blame to the Kakamega governor.
As members of the County Assembly, our core mandate is to oversight. And you see, we cannot do oversight if there are no resources that have already been allocated to the county. Because our core responsibility is to oversight the projects that the county is supposed to undertake. But the question you are raising is also very pertinent. If at all the counties are going to shut down, then it means there's no activity. Even those people who collect that revenue will not be on duty. We are saying that the county now cannot function. Where will they get even the resources? They don't have even fare to go and collect that revenue, to move to that market. They have not been paid for so many months. But if there is need for us to come up with a legislation, then so be it. We are ready because that is our core mandate and that one we can execute within a very limited time frame.
We should be pretending to be doing anything because if there are no drugs in hospitals because we don't have the money to purchase the drugs, what shall we be doing? We shall be cheating people that we are delivering services when nothing is really happening. So therefore, we support the governor, His Excellency Oparanya, and these things should not be personalized. The way the senators discuss it as if it is an Oparanya issue.
And this evening, we are going to adjourn our assembly so that members can go home until the time they will disburse funds to counties.
Yes.
And we are urging all other counties to follow suit. Because as members of County Assembly, our core mandate is to legislate oversight. What are we oversighting if the executive doesn't have any money to do development? So we have decided.
Still in Kakamega County, MCAs have lauded the senators for unlocking the contentious county's revenue-sharing formula stalemate, which threatened to cripple operations in counties. The MCAs praised the Kakamega Senator Cleophas Malala and the others for ensuring that no counties are disadvantaged in the formula.
Sisi tuko hapa kushukuru sana Senator wetu Mheshimiwa Cleophas Malala. Ya kwanza amepigana, amekamatwa kwa ajili ya watu wake wa Kakamega County. Nataka niambie watu wa Kakamega County ya kwamba sisi tunajivunia kiongozi kama huyo wa kutetea watu wake. Formula ya kwanza yenye walikuwa analazimisha Governor Oparanya, analazimisha Senator akubali, ilikuwa inapatia watu wa Kakamega County only 900 million. Na sasa tunapata 2 billion.
Na huo msimamo wa Team Kenya ndio kitu ambacho sisi tunapenda na tungependa Kenya iendelee kwa njia kama hiyo. Na ile mambo ambao Cleophas Malala akiwa senator wetu wa Kakamega amefanya, kesho utakuta kwamba ikiwa kuna dhulma inataka kufanyika kwa watu wa Kakamega, senators wengine watasimama imara waseme hapana, senator wa Kakamega alisimama imara na sisi wote tukafaidika kama Wakenya.
I also want to appeal to the governors kwamba hizi pesa sio zao binafsi. Even as we fight and the senators have fought and struggled kuhakikisha kwamba our counties are getting more resources and revenue, we want that money used prudently for the service ya mwananchi.
Na tunataka tuone zile flagship projects ambazo governor alianzisha mwaka 2013 zimeisha. Tunataka tuone Bukungu imeisha, tunataka tuone hospitali imeisha, tunataka tuone Malava Dairy imeisha, tunataka tuone Shinyalu Tea Factory imeisha, tunataka tuone Shamahubo Hospital imeisha, na vile vile hii pesa ikikuja ambayo ni zaidi ya bilioni 1 na milioni 500, tunataka maendeleo ya usawa katika kaunti ya Kakamega.
And opinion leaders in Tharaka Nithi have come out to support President Kenyatta, saying they were fully behind him in his endeavor to unite the country. The leaders, led by the former Member of Parliament in Nithi constituency, said President Uhuru has initiated various development projects in the area, including tarmacking of the road in Chuka town. He said the area has also benefited from rural electrification, which has gone a long way in improving the livelihood of the area residents.
We note with nostalgia and appreciation the great support His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta, the President of the Republic of Kenya, has continued to offer to the people of Tharaka Nithi County and Kenya at large. The residents of Tharaka Nithi County acknowledge the development project by His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta. Tharaka Nithi people are in the government. They are not part of Tanga group.
Na tumeongea tukasema sisi tuko nyuma ya President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. Tumeona akona roho kubwa ya kufanyia Wakenya kazi. Tumeona ile kazi anafanya Nairobi, tumeona upendo wake kwa watu wote wa Kenya, na kwa hivyo tunataka aambiwe wana Tharaka Nithi tunampenda na tuko nyuma yake. Sisi si watu wa kutangatanga. Mkutano tumesema tunamngojea atupee direction. Tunasikia Bimbia iko na mambo mazuri na iko na mambo mengi, hiyo ndio tunangojea tusikie ile maneno iko huko ya kusaidia Wakenya wote na especially akina mama.
All right, News Watch takes another short break. When we come back, we'll be looking at business news. Stay with us.
Join John Carson every weekday as he takes us on a journey through the Bible.
Whoever shall seek to save his life, if you go back to living for yourself, you're going to lose it. But whoever shall lose his life, give up his life for my sake, he shall preserve it.
Enjoy interesting, knowledge-packed, yet simple teachings through his humor and in-depth understanding of God's Word.
The last people that tried to put God in a box, literally, he rose again. He wouldn't stay in their compartment. If God was small enough for me to figure out, he wouldn't be big enough for me to worship.
Tune in to Hope TV for John Carson every 10 p.m., 4 a.m., and 10 a.m. weekdays on Hope TV, where you look and live.
Those who are bent on criminal activities must be dealt with firmly by our security agencies.
Tukishikana na ukitujoin inawezekana. Number one thing ikanifurahisha sana kuwa kwao ni kwa sababu kuna protection. Utakimbia tu kwao na uambie nimechokozwa na mtu hapa. Kasikia tu conviction ndani yangu, nikasikia better kukaa kwa kichaka kuliko kwa watu, because watu wanatafuta kichwa chako.
Circumstances can sometimes lead one to make painful decisions in life.
Nikaambiwa na juu ya hii kitendo yenye umefanya, now we want you to give us somebody in your family, and I was told kichwa yenye tutachukua ni ya mama yako.
He lived in the jungle for 4 good months for the sake of his life. However, things started to be tough, and even more than he expected. Join with me, Mark Kimondo, as I take you through the story of Peter Machari Njomo, only at Hope TV.
Welcome back to the broadcast. The National Management Authority, NEMA, has closed down the Marangeche Hotel in Masai Mara Game Reserve for non-compliance to environmental requirements a week after Tourism Cabinet Secretary Najib Balala ordered for its shutdown for blocking wild-beast migration. NEMA Chairman John Conchella, who led an inspection exercise of the hotel, said they have to undertake a fresh environmental assessment to determine the suitability of the camp at the current site. The camp management was ordered to demolish structures encroaching into the riparian reserves of the Mara River.
The camp circumvented the law by submitting an environmental audit, which is usually for existing facilities. Lack of an EIA study is a serious environmental offense, which negates proper mitigation measures, which could have been put in place to avoid such an incident like the one that has happened on the 14th of September 2020. Moreover, two structures are built within the riparian area of the Mara River, and we have given orders for immediate removal. The camp immediately closes all its operations until a full environmental impact assessment study is done to determine the suitability of the camp at the confluence of Talek and Mara River.
Coffee farmers in the country have continued to register massive losses as the price of the Kenya's coffee continues to decline at the auction, with the market grappling with lower quality supplies. This follows the resumption of the auction almost 2 months ago after closing for a month when the main crop season from central Kenya came to an end. Nairobi Coffee Exchange NCE indicates that a 50-kilogram bag was sold at 24,732 this week, down from 25,000 in the previous sale. Lower quality beans have been streaming into the auction even as the quantities supplied remained low. Now, the auction is getting crop from parts of eastern and western Kenya, with the main crop season from central expected to hit the market starting December. Coffee earnings dropped by 2.4 billion shillings in the 8 months to August compared with the same time last year, as the sector reeled from the effects of COVID-19. Market report indicates that the crop earned Kenya 9 billion shillings as at the end of last month, down from 11.4 billion shillings that was realized in the corresponding period last year. And the Kenya Revenue Authority has registered a 17.9% drop in its collection in the month of August from a similar period last year to 93.5 billion shillings. This has been largely attributable to the continued shock of the COVID-19 pandemic on economic activity, as various tax heads fold and shrinkage of the employments and the collapse of businesses. National Treasury Statement of Actual Revenues and Net Exchequer issues shows that the recent tax incentives, including the lowering of the effective VAT and payee rates, has carved a hole in revenue collection, denying the exchequer in excess of 172 billion shillings in annual tax streams. Cumulatively, total tax collected across the first 2 months of the financial year was 15% down from last year's tally of 221.4 billion shillings. The dampened outlook on tax has seen KRA ordinary revenue targets for the year move downwards to 1.524 trillion shillings from an original sum total of 1.634 trillion shillings, according to the Planning Ministry's draft budget review and outlook paper. KRA missed its full-year mobilization of ordinary revenues to June by 3.1%, sourcing 1.57 trillion shillings against a revised target of 1.62 trillion shillings. Oh my goodness.
Happy birthday, dear Tonny. Happy birthday to you.
Wow. Wow.
Tony.
Wow.
Happy birthday to you.
Wow. Wow. What what a surprise. Wow. What a surprise. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Where's the knife? I'm speechless. Wow. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for this. Wow. Wow, wow. Thank you. Thank you so much. So where's the... Oh, wow.
Unamka robot.
Guy. Yani I didn't...
Next time Tony akiambia fanye news hapa na
What? We are off air. Are we off air?
You can say now.
What? No, siwezi sasa now taje. Nini naendelea kwa TV?
We are now running the story ya Mark.